Alright, guys. I'm back to do another recording. If I can. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to use my Pro controller anymore for this. Don't worry, it still works. That's not the issue, but you know, I got a new Switch too. You know, as of recording this, it's launch day, or technically you could say it's the day after launch day because it's past midnight, but you know, same difference. And he wants me to keep my controller connected to my Switch too, so it's easier and so I don't have to keep switching them back and forth. But yeah, it is gonna be a little bit clunky, especially at first. But I'll get used to it. Luckily, this is a very, very casual game, so, you know, I don't really need the controller. It just makes things more efficient, but knowing the type of games I play, you know, it's not gonna matter. Because, you know, a lot of games require impeccable timing or whatever, and that could require an actual controller over just, you know, a mouse or keyboard. In fact, I don't even think you use the mouse. You might... I haven't been able to use my mouse for this game, so I may just have to use the keyboard. But yeah, this will take some getting used to, so just bear with me. And you might hear me press my keyboard buttons, since my mic does tend to pick up little stuff too, and not just me talking. In fact, I think it even picks up my air filter conditioner thingy. But yeah, I know I look really weird playing playing on an emulator while I have a Switch 2 that just came out, but I still want to do this Let's Play, you know. It's a lot easier to do things from my computer than it is to do things from the TV, because I have to, like, it's a pain in the ass to set it up when I do it on my TV. That's another reason why I don't do them very often. Yeah, I wanted to keep them sparse so they would last, and so I would actually have stuff to talk about, but a lot of the times I wasn't even in the mood to, like, go through the rigmarole of setting my recording session up all the time. It's way easier to just do it from the computer. But yeah, I had a dentist appointment. I said I was going to do a Miitopia premiere after my dentist appointment, because I knew it would give me stuff to talk to. Plus, my dentist appointment happened to be on the same day of the launch of the Switch 2, so technically I have two things to talk about. But yep, my dentist appointment went well for the most part. No cavities. So that was good. Even my dentist, Dr. Weaver, he said he was proud of me and stuff and he was happy with the results. However, I do have an issue with inflammation because I have like really sensitive gums. But, that's the catch 22 of the whole thing. Like, you want your you want to brush your gums so that they improve, right? Brushing your gums is how they're gonna improve. However, it's hard to brush your gums, because it can be overwhelming for someone with sensory issues. It can be hard to brush your gums when they're sensitive. So it's kind of one of those. You need experience to work, but you need work to get experience. It's one of those type situations. If you know where I'm getting at, you have to do this to do that, but you have to do that to do this. So, yeah, that was the main thing about the dentist. But the good news is no cavities. However, one good thing they did say is it was an improvement from my last dentist appointment. They did say that, and that made me happy to hear. I am a bit nervous about eventually talking to my Nana about it, because oh, good job, Taru. That's what we like to see. Because, she's very hard and strict she's kind of hard and strict to me about my teeth. In fact, it's one of the main reasons why I don't even like going to dentist appointments, because I know talking to her about it can be a nightmare. Because I do have things working against me. For one, I accumulate plaque more easily than the average person. Number two, I have sensory issues, so it makes it harder for me to brush my gums. And I know a lot of people, depending on where people are on the neurodivergent umbrella, like it's hard for them to stick to tedious tasks like brushing their teeth. Like, I'm not diagnosed, but I've said on here many times now that I have been highly suspecting that I have ADHD. And for a lot of you, you know how it can negatively impact your executive dysfunction. Okay, I'm not even gonna bother using Taru to heal Anton, because he has the stubborn oh, okay, yeah, never mind. I was gonna say, I'm not gonna bother having Taru heal Anton, because, he's stubborn. He could have bluffed. So, I would have just had him heal himself, because Mies cannot bluff at themselves. Okay. Okay, that was weird. It wasn't letting me go in for a bit. Yeah, because I have to use my arrow keys now. I don't have a Joy-Con to use anymore. because it's now connected to my Switch too. And my dad just told me to leave it, so I don't have to keep switching them back and forth. I mean, I could eventually get another Pro controller, but I feel like it'll just cause confusion to my dad, and he could like ask a bunch of questions, so it's not in the plans for right now. Plus, they can cost money, and I could use my birthday money for other stuff, because my birthday is coming up. Now, I don't know if I might actually premiere this tonight if it's uploaded in time after Green Ethan's premiere, but yeah, my birthday is on Monday, June 9th, as some of my closer viewers are aware. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. But before I get into that, I do want to finish up with my dentist, the discussion. Now, I uploaded, uploaded, but, it's unlisted and unreleased, but before my dentist appointment, I did episode 2 of Animal Parade, but I do want to release this and the rest of my Tree of Tranquility episodes before I release that one, so it could still be a while before that's released. For all we know, it probably won't even be until after my birthday. But yeah, back to what I was saying. A lot of people with ADHD struggle with executive dysfunction. And I'm one of them, which makes it hard for me to stick to tedious tasks like brushing and flossing my teeth. Because, it does get in depth. You have to really get in there, especially with flossing. Now, I know a lot of people tend to be a bit ignorant and insensitive when it comes to disorders. So I don't like using that as an excuse, like when I'm talking about my struggles with it to my dad and my grandma, because I don't want to come off as using excuses. So that's never a part that I brought up to them, but yeah. I wonder if it's an actual statistic though, since people with ADHD struggle to brush and floss their teeth thoroughly, are they at a higher risk for cavities? Because, that would be, not a good fact, but it would be interesting, and it would make sense, But yeah, that's another factor I have working against me is my possible ADHD. Plus, I'm on the spectrum too, and I think that could also cause executive dysfunction, because ADHD and autism spectrum disorder, they have their own symptoms, but they also have symptoms that overlap, such as, I think poor communication skills is one of them. And then there's people who have both. There's people that believe that you can't have both, but that's just a stereotype, or maybe not a stereotype, but a myth. Because you can have both. And autism spectrum disorder and ADHD, and you know what? I'm pretty confident that I have both. So yeah, it makes it a pain in the ass sometimes just to do basic stuff like brushing my teeth. I mean, I still do it. Don't worry. I don't completely neglect my teeth and my gums. It's just hard to really do it like thoroughly and properly. But yeah, the good news is, even though I did have inflammation and, like, tartar, they did say it was an improvement from last time. So, that makes me happy at least. Plus, I was mostly just happy about the no cavities. I consider that a success in my book, because even just preventing cavities can be a struggle. Plus, my schedule is all out of whack. I don't have a routine, so I find it hard to find a good time to brush my teeth. I mean, I definitely, because you want to brush your teeth at least twice a day, right? But other than, brushing my teeth before going to bed, which is one of the times you should be brushing your teeth, Besides that, I can't find, like, the other good time to brush my teeth. So, that also causes problems. Now, if I had a routine, it would be a lot easier to brush. Just that alone would make it a lot easier to brush twice a day, because, I could brush before going, like, to wherever I have whatever daily place I have to go, I can do it, like, when I'm getting ready to go there, and then I can and then, like, for my second time, I can do it right before I go to bed. I talked to my dad about it a few days ago. Because we were talking about, like, hopefully I should get my ID pretty soon, which I'll probably get into that in this video, and I have another video planned for next Thursday. I mentioned this in I believe, this morning's recording. But I don't, thankfully, my parents, or not my parents, my grandparents shouldn't be going on vacation next week. At the earliest, the week after, the week after next. So that's probably when I'm finally gonna do that one video that I've or that with the one rant that I had planned for weeks now. But yeah, I'll talk more about it. But yeah, like, back to what I was saying, me and my dad were talking about how once I get my ID, which hopefully I'll finally get it next week, because I have my DPS appointment on June 12th. So hopefully I can finally get my ID, and it'll just make things so much better. If I get my ID, I will be so fucking happy and so fucking relieved, because, we've been trying to get it for years, but, things have just gotten in the way. So Oh my, I will just be fucking happy and relieved. I know, but yeah, I'll definitely talk about how it went when I make next week's episode of Miitopia. Yeah, I'm either gonna be frustrated as hell or on the verge of tears of joy and relief. when when I'm recording the next episode. So be prepared for strong emotion for, you know, an emotional episode regardless of what happens. I'm either going to be frustrated and upset or happy and relieved. That's another thing. We actually printed out like a bill or like a document. My dad had like the receptionist. I believe she was, and she had her print out like a paper with my address and then my name to prove that I live in, this particular place. And hopefully my dad's gonna explain the situation. Yeah. That, I'm special needs, so I still live with him, and yeah, hopefully he can explain that as well, and then if push comes to shove, and that will help. But hopefully my birth certificate and that dentist paper will help. Plus, they're going to know how old I am by my birth certificate, I hope. Because I would hope that the damn thing has my date of birth, and then, like, they'll be like, oh, wow, she was born in 1998. Or yeah, June 9th, 1998, and it's June 12th, 2025. She just turned 27. Yeah, she needs an ID. I hope they'll have that mindset. But hopefully, if worst comes to worst and I'm not able to get my ID, hopefully my dad will figure something out, or they can at least tell him what he has to do to get me my ID, I'm hoping if I can't get my ID, they can at least tell him something easy for him to do. Like, I'm sorry, we can't give your daughter her ID yet. You need to have this for us. And then if that's something he can easily get, then it won't be such a big deal. But if they're just like, no, we can't give her an ID without actually helping, then that's going to be frustrating. Because I know my friend Purple Ethan, he was actually able to get his ID back in 2018. I believe he said. And he was like 16 or 17 at the time, depending on like whether it was before or after his birthday that year. And he was already able to get an ID despite being a minor. Because, he doesn't drive either. He can't drive either, so both of us have to just have regular IDs. But yeah, I am a bit nervous about, not as much as a dentist appointment, but I am a bit not nervous, but like just a bit worried about how the ID appointment or the DPS appointment will go. I'm hoping they either are able to give me my ID, or if they're not able to, they can at least help my dad, and actually communicate with him and, like, talk to him about what he has to do. But we'll see. But yeah, can't really say much about that right now because I don't know how it's going to go. But once I make next week's episode. I'll have a clearer head about this whole thing. Seriously, Anton, I wish there was a mod to remove that fucking feature. Matter of fact, speaking of mods, I do want to show off something. Hold on. I guess we'll go ahead and buy the wand. And yeah, it's a lot of money, but... And we're gonna be done with Greenhorn, but... I mean, it's still worth getting, so I can be powerful while while my mage job still lasts. Hold on, let me clear up the people the Miis who want to talk to each other. Ooh, hoo hoo. But yeah, I'm gonna give an outing ticket to me and Taru. Don't get mad at your own son. Seriously? Oh my goodness, these Miis can't go a single second without going at each other now, can they? But yeah. Okay, good. I have a ticket that's not cinema or cafe, so I can show something off. I already told Green Ethan, I already told you that the mod works, but I want to show it off. Oh, look at that. I also installed a no sickness mod, and I tested it out on my main playthrough on the emulator, and you know, Miis can still get sick, but they instantly feel better. I can't show that off yet because we have to get to a certain point of the game first, but yeah, thank you so much, Green Ethan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Look at all those assists. But yeah, we won't get sickness until a certain point in the game, so it'll still be a little bit before I can show that off. But I also installed a mod for Miis to instantly get better when they do get sick. But yeah, once I get my ID, we can start doing other stuff. We can submit my social security stuff. And then like we talked about how we can eventually find programs. And he told me that there are programs that will help you find like a job, but you know, just something simple. Like even if it's just a receptionist or like, you know, a store greeter. If anything, I think that could be up my alley since I do consider myself a friendly person. It's hard for me to initiate, like, greetings and stuff, but if it's a job, you know, it'll be easier than just randomly, like, saying hi to, like, someone, whether it be at school or at the store, you know. So, that could be good, because, you know, I actually want something. I actually kind of want, like, a job or something, to be honest. Yeah, I know, like, my being on the spectrum and having ADHD, that could, like, limit to such to a certain extent, what I'm able to do, but as long as it's something simple and flexible and, not beyond my ability, then I could do it. Because I actually want something to go that I something to go out and do, like, daily, or I don't know, a couple times a week. I don't know what my schedule would look like, but being on a routine, not only would it make me a happier person. I'm not saying I'm not a happy person, but I don't know, sometimes my lack of routine, I don't know, sometimes I overthink it, and, like, it kind of screws my mind over. Because I do miss being in school. I miss having something to go out and do every day. So, and that's what I want to do with these programs. I even talked to my dad about it. Look, I miss being out, I miss going out and doing stuff, so yeah. And that will make it easier for me to brush my teeth, to be honest. Cuz I can brush my teeth, number 1, when I'm getting ready to go to work, and number 2, before I go to bed. Right now, like, I struggle to find the like I said, I do brush my teeth before going to bed. That's pretty easy to figure out, but because that's one of the things you should do. You should brush your teeth before going to bed. But I know some of you guys are probably thinking, well, you can brush your teeth when you wake up, but the thing is, like, I'm gonna be hungry, a lot of times, like, shortly after I wake up, I do get, like, a little something to eat and drink. So, yeah, I'm struggling to find good times to brush my teeth. When, like, my first time during the day, when I have, like, a job to go to, it'll be easier to figure it out. And don't get me wrong, in case you guys are wondering, yes, I still want to be an author. Don't get me wrong. Don't worry. That is still a dream that I have. But, I also just want something simple that gets me out of the house. Even if it's just, like, a couple of times a week or for a couple hours, because, I honestly don't really like being a neat person, like NEET, because, not in education, employment, or training, because, like I said, I want to have something that I can go out and do daily, or, like, I don't know, a couple of times a week. Because it gets boring and tedious just sitting around the house without having anything to do, like, without any structure. You know, I like having structure, and I want to be able to have something that I can wake up and go do. But yeah, that's the only thing writing does not provide me with. You know, don't get me wrong, I love it. It's cathartic, and I know it can help people. But, that's something I can just sit at home and do, it's not really something that will get me out of the house or, get me some, I don't, get me a routine to follow or get me some structure, that's just something I'm going to be working on when I'm home and, that good stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to finally being able to do that. Even my dad was telling me that I'm he he thinks I'm getting to the point where I'm ready, and like I told him, yes, I feel ready. I want something that I can go out and do, I even told him that and how I miss like school and having something I can go out and do. So I think he is ready to get me into those programs. He just wants to. We just have other stuff to do first, like getting my ID, stuff like that. Which, like I said, I'll do another video next week talking about how that went. Spicy dish. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Yeah, spicy dish is pretty OP, so yeah, it causes resentment, but Anton or Ashton aren't even gonna be main teammates, so it really doesn't matter in the long run. Plus, we're about to be done with the Greenhorn area anyway, so yeah. Oh wow, level 31 with Taru, thanks to the mod. Overpowered Aldine's mod. But yeah, nothing much to say. Nothing much else to say. I might even call this an early episode, because I don't really have much to talk about. And I'm probably going to play on my Switch 2 for a little bit before Green Ethan does his premiere, so... yeah, I might call this an early episode, but I'll keep it going for a little bit longer. Yeah, when I do next week's episode, I'll also talk about how my birthday went. Because by the time, next episode won't be until after I have it. So I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about how the ID appointment went. So, yeah. I'll basically do a review of the week in general, because I may go with my dad to an appointment he has, just because I like to get out of the house. Because he doesn't force me to go. I actually want to go, It gives me something else to do, It gives me something to break up the monotony of just being here all the time. Not that I don't necessarily dislike being here. It's just that it gets stale when you don't have anything going on right now. When you don't have anything going on. Oh my goodness. This thing is overpowered. Okay, at least we're almost done with it. Alright. Yeah, we'll get a little bit into next door, because I think where we should be in next door pretty soon. Then I'll probably go ahead and knit it off. It's a bit shorter than usual, but I'm running out of things to say, and yeah. I'm probably gonna play on the Switch 2 for a little bit, like I said before Ethan does his premiere. Which, Green Ethan, I hope you can get a Switch 2 eventually. Whether it be you're able to buy it or someone releases an emulator of it. But yeah. The Switch 2, yeah, it definitely runs a lot better than the Switch 1. Yeah, I'll talk about the Switch 2 now, yeah. I forgot about that segment, I didn't really talk about it that much, but yep. Me, my dad, and my brother got Switch 2s, and we also got Mario Kart World. I'm not much of a Mario Kart person, but my dad insisted I downloaded it anyway. Because, you know, he went ahead and bought me a couple $100 in Nintendo money. So I was able to buy Mario Kart World and another game. I had to switch over to a new Nintendo account, so unfortunately I've been having to rebuy some games, and I finally rebought one that I first played back in 2021, and it's Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. Now you guys must have heard of Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town, but, you know, Marvelous is going back, and they've actually been remaking some games. You know, they've remade, I mean, they've still made, like, original Story of Season games, like Pioneers of Olive Town, but they've also, I mean, did I say remake? No, I just mean made. They've also developed some original titles that weren't previously under the Harvest Moon name, but they've also been, like I said, remaking some titles, like Friends of Mineral Town, for example. That was originally a Harvest Moon title. And then, you know, A Wonderful Life. That's another one that was originally a Harvest Moon title. But they were like, the games, I believe, were separated by gender. I've only played Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, and not Another Wonderful Life. So, unfortunately, I was never able to play the original version as a girl. But luckily, they didn't, you know, thankfully they didn't go down that route with the remake. You were able to choose your gender. Hell, you were able to choose between a male, a female, and even non-binary. You know, that's awesome. You know, I may be a cis female, but I definitely still appreciate the inclusion as an LGBT activist, because I'm LGBT myself. Just, you know, just not in terms of gender. But I am aroace, you know, I'm asexual, aromantic to real people, and when it comes to fictional characters, you know, I'm under, like, the bisexual umbrella. I still prefer male characters, you know. I feel more strongly attracted to them, but I still develop crushes on female characters here and there. So, yep, I'm technically bisexual for fictional characters. Because, it's not like unheard of, Quite a few people identify as airways to real life people, but still develop crushes on fictional characters and will even self ship. Unfortunately, a lot of people outside the LGBT community are kind of ignorant about that. But yeah, I was finally able to rebuy. Because, it's been almost a year already since I switched. So, it's nice finally having the game back. Because I still have money left over, I believe, from previous birthdays and Christmases, but it can be a pain in the ass to keep up with the balance, because a lot of the times when I do try to look it up, I get an error, so I'm glad my dad decided to put a couple $100 on there, which made things a lot easier. But yeah, I don't know if I'm still not 100% sure if I'm gonna go to Nana's for my birthday, because she still has shingles, But if she does feel better, because she wants us to come over. Plus, it'll be a little different because we don't usually do things on my birth. We don't usually go over there on my birthday. We usually do it like a little bit before or a little bit after. But since my dad doesn't have to go back to work until like July, we can do that. But if it doesn't work out, I understand. Plus, I told him that we can always just do it later if it doesn't pan out. Better late than never. Because I do like going over there. Because I know if it doesn't work out, I can still do birthday stuff at, here. Money, cake, Five Guys, celebrating with my friends, but I do want to go over there at least sometime this summer, at least once, and be able to swim a little bit for a little bit. And yeah, the good news is my dad actually got us on a family plan, so hopefully I won't have to worry about renewing my Nintendo Online subscriptions for a while, because it does require a big chunk of money just to be able to use online services. Yeah, it's extremely frustrating. But luckily, since my dad has us on a family plan, I'm hoping he'll be able to manage the bullshit. Because I even double checked. I looked at my Nintendo Switch Online account and it says family membership and it doesn't even have an expiration date like it used to when I got those yearly subscriptions. So hopefully that's a good sign. Yeah, one thing I do want to share that I got pretty frustrated about. This isn't about the switch. Don't worry. This is about something completely different. But, like, you know, but I kind of wanted to just get it off my chest and kind of maybe kind of a vent, but like, you know, I tried to change the toothbrush head on my toothbrush every, you know, because I was told to start doing it like every time around every dentist appointment. What, you know, that was a good interval or schedule or whatever that they gave me. So I tried doing that this evening, you know, but I cannot get the freaking brush on for some reason. Like, I even tried to make sure it was like aligned, because, you know, you do want to do that. You want to make sure the toothbrush head is like aligned. Like, for example, you want to make sure that the front of the toothbrush and the front of the toothbrush head are both like facing the same direction, if that makes sense. So I tried to do that, and I even tried to wash off the part that connects, since I heard that having residue or debris on it can prevent it from connecting, and I tried doing that too, but for some reason, like, I just can't get the damn thing on. So that's something I'm gonna have to talk to my dad about. Probably, yeah, not right now, because it's freaking late, but I'm not gonna wake him up just to tell him that, you know, that can wait till later on when we're all up and around. But yeah, like, I don't know if it's a me problem, or if it's just maybe because I could have sworn I was able, I used the same model, like, you know, back in October during the last time I switched it out, but this time I just can't get it on for some reason. Yeah, I'm gonna have to explain it to my dad, because I did try to do, like, you know, what I was told, you know. I tried to, you know, because they say, like, you know, like I said, you want to make sure the toothbrush and the toothbrush head are like aligned, and you want to make sure there's no, like, it's clean. The part that connects the two is like clean, and there's no debris or like residue. So I rinsed that off too, but it is still not budging, and, you know, that's something I'm gonna have to talk to my dad tomorrow about, when we're both up and around. Because, yeah, I do struggle to do stuff. Like, sometimes, like, I tend to struggle with stuff that's extremely easy and basic to, like, normal people. So, yeah, but I'll explain the situation. I don't want to just say, I can't get this on, you know. I need to actually tell them, look, I tried doing this, and I tried doing this and this and this, but it still wouldn't work, you know. My dad needs to know that I was putting in the effort, you know. And hopefully, if he can get it on, he can explain to me what I needed to do, you know, that I wasn't doing. Or if he can't get it on, hopefully he can get toothbrush heads that are compatible with my electric toothbrush. Because I use an electric toothbrush. It's a lot easier than using the manual one. But yeah, those toothbrush heads, I don't know what the deal is. Like, I don't know why I can't get it on. Like, yeah, I definitely need to talk to my dad tomorrow when we're both up and around. Because I do struggle with doing stuff that, you know, that may seem simple and basic to, like, normal people. It sucks, but it's just something I have to deal with. But I'll explain the situation. I don't want to just say I can't do it without talking to him, because, he's gonna assume I'm not doing anything when I did try some stuff. So hopefully that helps. And if he can get it on, hopefully he can tell me what I have to do, and then I can remember it for next time. But yeah, frustrating as hell. They need to make things more simpler to do, to do and undo. That's something else. That's something I advocate for people with disabilities, or for people who are neurodivergent, or even that have mental health issues. There needs to be tools that makes doing certain things we have to more efficient and easier. It's no different than providing a wheelchair for someone, not a wheelchair, but for providing a ramp for someone that uses a wheelchair, or for having automatic doors, because again, people may not be able to walk. They may have to, like I said, use a wheelchair, or a walker, or a cane, and it's hard to get in manual doors. And it doesn't even have to be people with mobility issues. It can just be people who struggle to get in and out of the door when they're holding a bunch of stuff, like me. We used to go to this hotel, and it didn't have automatic doors, and it would piss me off, because it was a bit hard to get in and out of those doors when we were having to carry luggage. It was frustrating. But the good news is, that's actually a good topic for even just my book about being on the spectrum. I wish society was more accommodating. Not just people who are on the spectrum, that's just an example, but, just people with any type of, disability, or neurodiversity, or mental health issue. I wish society was more accommodating. However, sometimes we have to help society to help us. Sometimes people just don't know what we need, so we have to speak up. But then there are people who are stubborn and who do know what we need but just don't care. There's a difference. There's people who don't know, but then there's people who do know but just don't care. So yeah, you have to be careful, and when it comes to finding the people who do know, and the people who genuinely just don't really understand what we need. You know what I mean? So yeah. And then in this case being toothbrush heads that are easier to replace, take off and take on, that aren't such a pain in the ass just to get off and on. Well, I was able to get it, off easily, but on, I don't know, I just want something that I can just get on. as long as it's aligned. I can just slap on. Plus, I don't even know if like the toothbrush heads match the brand of the electric toothbrush itself, like the Oral-B or like it's called like something like that. I may have to, if my dad can't help me and if I'm not able to like get them on myself, or if I'm not able to get them on myself, I may have to talk to my dad or my grandma to get me ones that are like actual Oral-B, like my electric toothbrush, and hopefully that would help me being able to replace them without it being a pain in the fucking ass. Oral-B, like it's like Oral-B or Oral-B, like something along those lines. I might need toothbrush heads of that specific brand. Okay, I figured I'd explain this, but I decided not to install the class part of the mod because, number one, I don't know where the folder is, you know. I didn't want to go through the trouble of, you know, finding the folder. And number two, I'm going to be a scientist. And number two, you know, it's kind of pointless anyway. Yeah, having the princess job, you know, available at the start, you know, that seems nice, but as you guys all know, we have to change jobs twice, so, you know, after the Greenhorn story and then after the Next Door story. So, it's kind of pointless having the princess job. Or, like, you know, appear early. Because if I were to use it, then I would just have to wait to get it back until later on, you know. So even if I did have it available at the start, you know, it's better for me. It's better to just, well, at least in my humble opinion, you know, I'd rather just wait until the Realm of the Fae chapter to give it to my me. Because that way I don't have to, you know, change out of it. Unless I want to. But you know what I mean. I won't be forced to change out of it. I can just do it of my own accord. But yeah, I am a bit worried about the toothbrush situation. Hopefully, my dad can explain to, like, if my dad is able to get it on, he can tell me, like, what I'm doing, what I'm doing wrong, or what I'm not doing. Or if he can't get it on, you know, if it comes to that, I can just use a manual toothbrush, and then, you know, and he can order, like, actual Oral-B. Well, him or my Nana can order actual Oral-B toothbrush heads, and hopefully that would help. So yeah, that's something I need to get sorted out tomorrow. Yeah, we're in an hour and 4 minutes in, you know, we're about at the average place. The average time anyway of when I usually end these, so yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good topic for people with disabilities, you know, people who are neurodivergent, and people who struggle with their mental health, you know. If people would be more accommodating, you know, it would be easier for us to live with these conditions. I mean, it would still be rough, but don't get me wrong, you know, that alone isn't going to solve all our problems, but it would definitely make it at least somewhat easier. All right, we have a new. Oh, you know what, Green Ethan? I think I'm gonna bring you in. Yep, I'll bring you in. Then Eva Coleman. Then. Actually, no. Yeah, you're gonna be a main teammate. Never mind. So I'm not gonna bring you in yet. Sorry. Sorry for the confusion, but... Okay, I'll bring Manton in. Then I'll bring... you-know-who in. Eva. Then I'll bring you in. So yeah, just be patient. Your time is coming. Yeah, he's stubborn. And since he's not going to be a main teammate, I can just make him an imp. Sometimes I make him a mage, but I'll make him an imp since that's actually his main job, and he's not a main teammate, so I don't have to worry about, you know, giving more efficient backup jobs. But yeah, we'll do one more round of battles. Well, I don't know if we get Eva again, then I might keep it going. If we get 2 visitors in a row, but because I'm worried what would happen if I like quit. Okay, unfortunately I can't give us an outing ticket because I only have the ones that crashed the game, but hopefully we can get more. Then, but yeah, I kind of miss living in Orange Grove, to be honest. Funny, oh my god, seriously? So many weird, crazy memories. I remember we went to this weird taco drive-through place. It's hard to explain, but... yeah, we need a freaking mod, too. I wish there was a mod that got rid of wrong purchases. I wish I knew how to mod. I would make a mod for it, because there is absolutely no reason for it to exist, but to just piss off players, like, seriously. That's literally the only reason why it exists. Because sometimes it happens even if you have plenty of candies and bananas. You know, it's not just something that happens if you're low on them, like, like, what is the point of this feature? Seriously, man. Oh god, quiz bitch. I'll worry about him later on. We'll go in this area for now. But yeah, I do have, but worry not, I do have the sickness mod installed. I just decided to not include the classes aspect. Because you know, I play tested it to make sure it worked, but yep, it does, because when When a meat gets sick, they instantly get better. I just can't show it off until later on. Because sickness doesn't become a Dane until after you defeat the Dark Lord. Oh. Aw. Manton is being soft and taking responsibility for his actions. That's good. But yeah, it's Green Ethan is about to stream anyway. I was planning on going on my Switch until for a little bit, but I decided that I was gonna keep this going for a little bit longer. So yeah. Hopefully we don't get our second teammate until a little bit after, like not 2 times in a row. If we do, then yeah, I'll probably play for one more round, but luckily we shouldn't have to. It should take a little bit to get our third teammate. Yeah, I'm probably not going to play on full screen because, you know, I like to keep an eye on the time, you know, and it's harder to do that when I'm playing on full screen, so I may bring it back for next episode. I mean, I have it on my TV, but it's easier to just look on my computer. Oh, seriously, Eva? Fine. I'll go for one more round. Anton isn't here. I'm sorry. He got kidnapped, so if he's who you're after, then you're just gonna have to wait. Actually, I don't even know if I have to actually go on the next quest. I think I'm gonna get like an end break. Oh, okay. Alright, okay, good. Okay, never mind. I was worried I was gonna have to play through another round, a battle round when I'm losing track of time. So let's just get these people situated with equipment, unless they're gonna be dumbasses, and like okay, good. Equipment and grub. Then I'll end it off. Alright, good. Yeah, you're not gonna have a little fork. You'll have a pitchfork. Alright, I will see you guys later. Bye.